morning, everybody. Today is May 28th, Wednesday. Annie had asked me to go over the Infancy Gospel, which I've talked about many times, but it's not something I talk about all the time. And so right off just the top of my head, just going to go with the basic story of the Infancy Gospel and just kind of show you some of the things that they removed from the Bible. Now, some of these texts most of these texts were not included in the current Protestant Bible because we only keep to the 66 books, but a lot of them are from like the Egyptian Coptic texts and even some of the Muslim invasions of Israel preserve these books and things like that. And so, if I'm saying that right, it's, in my head when I say stuff like that, I picture like the movie Kingdom of Heaven when they take over Israel and the guy that's in charge, the cross falls down and he puts it back up, kind of thing. Like, they did take over Israel, but they didn't want to entirely annihilate the religion of Christianity, which is probably smart, since in their own writings they say that in order to find the truth of their own religion, they need to go to the Christians to do it. So that's kind of an important thing. But no man comes to the Father except by Jesus Christ. So you cannot get into the kingdom of heaven. You cannot worship your own God, the Father, unless you go through the Son. So in essence, in order to go to heaven, you need to find Christ. And that would be true in any aspect of humanity. To be, it's obvious to Christians, but when you think about it, all the different religions that are out there that say that they have the truth, there is only one that has the truth, and that is the purest form of Christianity, which would be the 120. And I talk about that all the time, but it's understanding the Old Testament, understanding the New Testament, and the books that they took out, which would include the Pseudepigrapha and Apocrypha, which are part of the Infancy Gospel. So moving into that, the Infancy Gospel starts out, in essence, with Jesus's grandparents. And I screw their names up all the time. But anyways, Mary's father, he gave 1/3 of his money to the church, 1/3 of his money to the poor, and he kept 1/3 for himself, and it made him a rich man because he was blessed by God. Never mind the fact that it's a pretty holy thing to do. Then he went down to the registry, and they found out that he found out that he was the only person in Israel that didn't have a son. And there's verses that say cursed is the man that doesn't bring forth a son in Israel. So he was chastised by somebody at the church and started crying, ran away. And then God basically did the same thing that he kind of did with the Abraham story and stuff like that, where in his old age he had a child again, and the wife was crying too because the husband left, and he was a shepherd, so he left and he was out in the woods for a while, or the fields or whatever. And then so they get promised a child and they said that they would give it to the temple, which they did, which Mary went, when she was born, Mary was miraculously born and she was given to the temple. And she says in the Infancy Gospel that she was fed by angels, and it also is mentioned later on that she was fed by angels, when she's telling a story of her life. And so that's kind of remarkable in and of itself. She was also way better at everything, and people were kind of jealous of her. She was better at singing, at sewing. She was just better at everything. It was she was the perfect choice for a woman, chaste virgin. She was just perfect at everything. So she's growing up. She's 12, 13. They're oh, we got to find her a husband. They can't find, they have to ask God who she's supposed to go to. So they cast lots using the shepherd's staff that everybody keeps around. And so they it's kind of like the rod of iron thing that they say Jesus will have a rod of iron when he comes back because he's the shepherd of mankind, basically. And so, like, this staff that Joseph had, that he didn't put his lot in because he was an old man, he was a widow, which doesn't fit the narrative of their little manger scenes in modern Christianity. So they got rid of all the books that mention that Joseph was a widow who had older children. Mary was a virgin until she died, so where did the other kids come from? They don't tell you that either. And then if you do mention it, they say, oh, it's a Catholic thing. So basically there's all these bickerings between Christians and Catholics and Jews and all these things that cause problems within the truth of the scriptures. And the reason that some of these truths matter is because they do reflect on lies that have been told in humanity to dumb the people down towards the fact that Jesus actually is God. And one of those things, in my opinion, is that Joseph had kids before he married Mary, because then you realize that, like, Jude was raised by Mary, and then Jesus was raised with Jude and Mary in that house as little kids. So when Jude says in his verses that Enoch, seventh from Adam, prophesied, where would Jude have learned that information from? Because it wasn't something that was accepted by the Jews that taught in that time. He would have learned that from Jesus, because Jesus is the one that says these things, like says that, like, as in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the coming of the Son of Man. Well, it's talking about the fact that in Noah's time there were giants, and in our time there will be giants when Jesus returns. It says it in the book of the Bee. Why is this important? Because there's 20 races of giants that are going to be released from the inner earth to punish mankind. And it says in Enoch that the wicked and ungodly will be removed from the earth. Some of that's going to be pestilence, some of it's going to be wars, some of it's going to be famine, some of it's going to be giants, some of it's going to be a lot of different things that kill the wicked. And why are the wicked being removed? Because they are the line of Cain, which Abel is literally sitting there as we speak saying, when, O Lord, are you going to wipe out the line of Cain that has not only killed me and all of the children I would have had, but is also killing the people of the earth that are from Seth's line as well. Like, this is happening as we speak. You just can't hear it. So, back to the story. So, Mary has to get out of the temple because, you know, women go through a certain thing at a certain time in their life, and then she can't have blood in the temple. So, they get rid of Mary out of the temple, and when they do, she goes to live with Joseph. Joseph doesn't want to take her, but he does, and the reason he does is because his staff, he didn't put his staff in at first, but then they went and found him, he put his staff in, and his staff budded overnight or whatever. So that's pretty substantial information as well, because these same things happen to that same staff over and over again throughout history. It was Moses' staff, which turned into a basilisk, which was a giant dragon that ate the other snakes. They don't tell you that. All you get's, like, you know, the little Moses story with Charlton Heston, where, like, oh, look, it turned into a bigger snake and ate no, it was like a massive dragon type snake that ate the other two snakes, and everybody was freaking out. They don't tell you that, like, Moses and, like, there was, like, giant, like, cheetahs and lions that were standing guard at the gates of Egypt, and Moses and Aaron just walk right in because they have the staff, and the staff is part of this, like, it's part of, like, this, like, ensemble where if you wear the clothes that were given to Adam at the beginning that Nimrod stole and Solomon had and stuff like that, that you can control the animals, and you can also, like, you know, they don't bother you and stuff like that, whatever, kind of like the Shekinah glory in the beginning where bugs don't touch you and stuff, that type of thing. Anyways, so as Mary comes into Joseph's house, she is living there. She has a bunch of servants. She's pretty well, she got like 5 servants or something in the house, because dude was like, Mary's parents were pretty well off, so you have to figure, yeah, she's gonna have some people taking care of her. Maybe the temple gave them to her, whatever. But then, so Joseph, he leaves and does his carpenter trade thing far away, and when he comes back, he finds Mary pregnant, and he says, "Oh my goodness, what has happened to Adam happened also to me." What is that? The license plate on that truck just said, "Oh my," as I'm saying that. It always happens. Anyway, so Joseph says, "Oh my, my wife is pregnant. How did this happen?" And Mary was like 15, 16, and she's pregnant. And so like Joseph realizes, oh man, the story of Adam has repeated. What was the story of Adam? Well, those are the dark sayings of old that Jesus is trying to tell you about in the Bible, and people don't realize that when he says you are of your father the devil, he's saying that these people are the literal children of the devil from the beginning. The wheat and the tares is about Cain's line and Adam's line through Seth. So Joseph thinks that a fallen angel had gotten Mary pregnant because he knew about the stories of Enoch. It was widely known. That book was around back then. It's just that the Jewish elders didn't accept it because in it speaks of Jesus. It tells you of Jesus, and it tells you that the Son of Man will come. Why do all the other Bible versions that you read nowadays start to change that word, or that phrase, the Son of Man? Because they call him the human one, and they call him all these other things that do not align with the book of Enoch, and yet Enoch is going to be one of the two witnesses. They self-identify in 3 or 4 books actually 4 books at least, that were removed. And they were removed probably for the very reason that they speak of Enoch being one of the 2 witnesses. If human beings realized that Enoch was one of the 2 witnesses with Elijah, then you would know that we should be reading these books. And then it opens up this floodgate of information letting you know that the wicked and the ungodly that are going to be removed are the wicked and ungodly mentioned in Revelation 2:9 and 3:9, where it says that the synagogue of Satan is running Israel, and they are rich and we are poor. And you would realize that the Mount of Transfiguration is not talking about the 2 witnesses. It's talking about something entirely different than the 2 witnesses. It's talking about the 3 testaments, and it then opens up that entire floodgate as well. So, back to the story. You know the basic stuff from the canon, so I'm not going to go into that. So Joseph and Mary have to flee because they are warned in a dream by an angel. After they're warned that it's okay, it's not a fallen angel's baby, it's actually put in Mary's stomach from Jesus himself. He put himself in her stomach because he's part of the Godhead. And then in the Ascension of Isaiah, if you go off to that book, it tells you that Jesus came down through the 7th layer of heaven. God says go down all the way onto Sheol, or whatever, like the top part of hell. Don't go down to Amente or something. He says, like, the bottom part of hell, just go to the top part of hell. Go get the saints from Adam to the thief on the cross and save my people. Just like Moses saved the people, Jesus goes and saves the people. Just like the Red Sea was parted, then the doors of hell are parted, and God goes in and gets all his people out. So Mary and Joseph flee to Egypt. As they're going into Egypt, Jesus is 3 and he's talking. He was also talking when in the manger scene and all that stuff. He was talking because he could talk at 3 years old and at birth. And they're running out of water, and Jesus tells the palm tree to bend down and feed Mary the figs or whatever is on this palm tree. And at the bottom of the palm tree, a spring of water opens up and gives them all water, and then they're worried about the distance. So Jesus says, don't worry, Joseph, I'll make what would have taken 30 days to take this very hour. And so all of a sudden Egypt appears in the distance, and they don't have to travel as far and they had water and figs. And then an angel comes down, and Jesus says to the tree, because you've done this, a palm branch will be given to everybody that's victorious in heaven. And then we know that the palm branches happened at Palm Sunday when Jesus goes into Israel because he was victorious. He rode on a humble donkey. Then, so that's part of the palm tree thing. And then also when you read 3rd Enoch, the palms are given to the people that are victorious with their crowns and all this stuff. And then I think it's 3rd Enoch. And then it does say it in one of the books that were removed. I just can't remember if it's 3rd Enoch or something else. So then the angel comes down, takes the palm branch, shoots it back up to heaven. It gets planted in paradise. Then Jesus and Mary and Joseph go into Egypt, and while they're in Egypt, as soon as they walk in, this giant temple that has all these statues of like different pagan deities, all the statues fall on their face, and this general comes in and he's like, oh my goodness, are you serious? Like, our gods would have never bowed down to this God unless he was truly the one true God. And so then that's where you start to have people starting to believe in Jesus when he's only 3 years old. I forgot to mention, when they're escaping to Egypt, a bunch of stuff happened, but one of them was that Titus and Dumachus, the 2 thieves on the cross, it says Mary on this license plate as I'm saying this, kind of funny. So the 2 thieves on the cross, you can't make this stuff up, like I'm telling you, it happens all the time. So the 2 thieves on the cross, Titus and Dumachus, they end up, the good one saves Mary and Joseph, and he says to the other one, I'll give you 40 goats plus my belt, which was a big thing to give somebody your belt back then. He says, I'll give you my belt if you let them go. So he lets them go, and Jesus says, 30 years from now, this thief will be on my left and this one will be on my right, and they will be crucified with me in Jerusalem. And Mary says, God forbid. And she doesn't realize what's going to happen in the future. So anyways, they're in Egypt, going around, living in different places and stuff like that. Jesus is thwarting witchcraft and thwarting all these evils that are happening in the land. And so as he's stopping all this witchcraft and bad things from happening, people are starting to believe in him again. And as he's going through these areas, stopping the witchcraft, like some dude was turned into a donkey by a witch, and then Jesus heals him. His bathwater starts healing people of leprosy, all this stuff. And then people start following him and believing in him. Some of those same people that were following him are there when he's crucified later in life. Like, they're still part of his like group of people that follow him. Then on top of that, you have a bunch of people that give him things. Some of those things are like the 30 coins of silver that Judas betrays Jesus with. Those were given to him when he was like born by the wise men or something like that. Then you have like the ointment that was used to wash his feet. The woman that washed his feet with the ointment, that was actually something that was given to Jesus as a gift. It was given to Mary as a gift for Jesus' bathwater healing somebody or something like that. And I'm paraphrasing, but this is the gist of it. These are all things that were taken out of the Bible. And these are all miracles. These are all miracles that Jesus did, and they took them out. Do you think that human beings have the right to take out miracles that Jesus did as a baby? No. Why? Why did they do that? Because if he did these miracles as a baby, you'd realize that he was doing miracles all of his life. And you don't just have one mention of him when he's 12 being at the temple reading out of the book of Isaiah without even looking at the scroll or whatever. See what I mean? Jesus did amazing things all throughout his life, from the second he was born to the second that he died. After he died, he rose again, saved all the saints, fulfilled hundreds of prophecies that they took out, and yet they just don't tell you this stuff. And then after this, when he's 7, 8, 9, Mary and Joseph get booted out of all these different apartments they're living in because he's doing miracles and things like that. He gets beat on the head by, like, when he's 5, by all these rabbis that he schools them, like, just like talking about like interplanetary like stuff, and they're like still talking about like, what does this letter mean? What does this letter mean? And like trying to teach him the letters. He's like, you don't know anything about anything you're talking about. I'm not even going to listen to you because you can't teach me anything. And like being like how God would be to people that think that they're so smart. And guess what? They're not that smart. And it says in the Bible, God's foolishness is wiser than man's wisdom. That's what it's talking about, and that's why Jesus did that as a child. It's showing you that you think that you're so smart, but it takes the mind of a child to show you guys that you're just fools. And why? Because you don't accept certain books, because they don't fit in with the paradigm that you want to hold on to, because you're fleshly and you have fleshly desires and you have fleshly things that you care about, and they don't mean anything. And this is something that goes on and on and on and on till today. And you see all these people driving around and just doing stuff that doesn't matter. You drive around and you see all these people that are just following after their fleshly desires and lusts until the very second that they pull the plug when you're in the hospital. They don't care about God. They don't care about what He's done for mankind. They have no notion that there's more to life than just this garbage. You see that church over there, right there? All these churches like that, they go out of business. That church right there specifically, I don't know if it's that name of that one, but that church right there, the dude that started that church, if you look in the comments, it says that all they do is like jam out to music and they don't even teach you anything about God. So I couldn't go there anymore in the comments. The guy got charged with embezzling money from the church, and then they shut them all down, and there's like 5 or 6 of them all around here. And that's what it is. These people have stolen from God for money, for financial gain. And it says it right in the book of Peter and Jude and all these other books, that these wicked men who eat at your love feast, they don't care about you, they don't feed you, they don't have any problem with just like telling you lies about the Bible and then taking your money and saying thank you, bless you, get out of here. That's it. And this is what the Catholic Church has done. This is what the Protestant Reformation has done. They took away the food that actually feeds you because they took the books out, and they just don't care about you. They don't. And it's sad and it's disgusting, but things are gonna change and they need to change. So I hope that might help you in your walk with Christ this day. I don't know if you can see it from here, but in the distance, way in the distance, if you zoom in, is Mount Washington. You can see the snow-capped top of it. It's kind of hazy today, but normally you can see it pretty good. So guys, thank you all for everybody that said happy birthday. I appreciate it, and God bless you all, and have a fantastic day. I hope that if you're sick, that God might heal you, and thank you for all the prayers for healing me, because it has worked. I am feeling better. And just can't thank you all enough. God bless and take care.